Warren Buffett is one of the greatest investors of all time. Yeah, he's the GOAT. And he said something that every man needs to hear. He said, if you can't manage your emotions, you can't manage money. But I'm going to take it a step further. I say, if you can't manage your emotions, you can't manage anything. Not your life, not your marriage, not your health, and not your time. My name is Marquez Pye. I came from a broken home, and I almost let the pain of my past break up and destroy my family. Now, I help successful and high-performing fathers make sure that that doesn't happen to them. Today, I'm going to show you why suppressing your feelings is keeping you stuck and how to process your emotions the right way so that they stop controlling your life. If you're a high-performing father, I want you to know that you've been told a lie. You've been conditioned your entire life to suppress, to hide, or just numb your emotions. Society told you to man up. It told you that being in tune with your feelings or emotions meant that you were a punk, or that it proved that you weren't a man and that it was a sign of weakness. So what do? You push it all down. You try to find ways to cope, or you completely ignore them. But here's the problem with that. When you suppress your emotions, they don't just disappear. They go deep underground in your brain, in your nervous system, and they wait for an opportunity to eventually get your attention. And as long as you suppress or refuse to deal with your emotions, they will always control you. You think you're being strong by ignoring how you feel, but really, you're just racking up what I call emotional debt. When you were growing up, society told you that suppressing your feelings was a sign of strength. They told you that that's what men are supposed to do. But let me show you what actually happens to your nervous system when you just push down your emotions and try to suppress them. You see, emotions don't have an expiration date. They'll never just work themselves out over time. When you suppress an emotion, it doesn't just disappear. It just goes dormant. They get swept under the rug. And while they're just sitting there being left unattended, every unprocessed emotion becomes a line of credit that your nervous system is silently paying interest on. You start increasing your emotional debt. And eventually, that emotional debt gets so out of control that your system has to scramble to find a way to manage the payments. That's what happens when you try to just numb the pain. You think not dealing with it is easier than feeling the heavy weight of everything that you owe. But you need to know this. You can't outrun that debt forever. Eventually, it's going to knock on your door and take your house. That's why you run to alcohol. That's why you turn to drugs. That's why you waste your life away playing video games all day. That's why you destroy your brain watching porn, trying to get a quick dopamine hit. Oh yeah, and let's not forget about the 80-hour work weeks either. That's just an excuse to get so wrapped up in your work that you don't have to deal with the real issues in your life. These are just what we call interest payments. You aren't just relaxing or grinding. You're trying to avoid an emotional bill. You're numbing yourself because that feels easier than feeling the weight and the pressure of everything that you owe. But here's the most dangerous part. While you're numbed out, that dormant emotion is still very active in your brain and your nervous system. There's a part of your brain called the amygdala. It acts as your brain's alarm system. Its only job is to detect threats and to keep you alive. And when something happens that triggers you, that amygdala shuts down the brain's communication with your prefrontal cortex. And it immediately puts you in fight or flight mode. And you're stuck trying to figure out why you reacted in a certain way, why you did something that you know that you don't want to do, and why you always find yourself in the same predicament. I need you to understand something. You can't outrun that debt forever. If you don't do the what I call mental clearing to rip out that old code at the root, it's going to eventually destroy everything in your life. Talking about your marriage, your relationship with your kids, your health, your time, and your legacy, all because of emotional debt. Now, I know you're probably sitting there thinking, so how do I actually get out of debt? In my identity transformation process, there's a framework that I use called the Trump framework. And the letter U stands for understanding emotions. Here's a principle that you need to understand. The more you relate to your emotions, the more you can regulate them. Right now, your emotions are doing two things simultaneously. Number one, they're giving you information. And number two, they're giving you motivation. But here's the catch. Your emotions are primitive. They don't use the logical or analytical part of your brain. Let me give you an example. Let's say your wife pushes back on a decision that you make. Then you get mad at her. You need to realize that you're angry. You need to realize and understand that you're angry for a reason, whether that reason is valid or not. Your anger is trying to give you information. It tells you, hey, I feel disrespected right now. But it also is trying to give you motivation. It tries to motivate you to yell to defend yourself or to show her who's in charge and control. But you know, logically, that isn't the right way to respond. So what do? If you want to process your emotions the right way, you have to split those two things apart. You must seek to understand what the emotions are trying to tell you, but you can't let it convince you to do what it's trying to motivate you to do. Your emotions are kind of like warning lights on your car's dashboard. They tell you when something's wrong, but you're the one who gets to decide if you're going to keep driving or if you're going to pull over the car, because you're the one that's in control, not the dashboard. And as long as you continue to suppress your emotions or refuse to deal with them the right way, they'll always control you. They'll always take the wheel. Let me say that again so you can get it. I want to beat it into your brain. As long as you suppress your emotions, they will always control you. And you can't just use willpower either. You can't just do breathing techniques or journal or try to use discipline. You have to go below the surface level. You have to go straight to the root. You don't need behavior modification. You need what I call identity transformation. If you're a high-performing father, someone who's successful in his career or his business, who's done racking up the emotional debt, I'm inviting you to join the founders cohort for my inner circle. It's for high-performing fathers, successful men, successful husbands like you, and it's called the Fatherhood. As of right now, I'm only taking 5 fathers. For 3 months, you and I are going to be working side by side. We'll be doing live workshops where I'll be walking you through the system that I use to help successful fathers and husbands like you get their identity transformation. And in 3 months, we'll rip out that old code and rebuild your identity from the inside out. Trust me, this is a great once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Once I select these 5 fathers that are the right fit for my program, I'll be closing the doors. And the next cohort won't be available for a while. Now, let me make sure that I say this. Your transformation is completely in your hands. And if you're not the type of person that can hold themselves accountable, you won't be a good fit for my program. That's why I have an accountability system built in. Look, I got 3 kids on my own. I don't need any more. I'm your coach and I'm your mentor, but I'm not your babysitter. I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm here to help you. So if you're a grown man who's ready to do the deep internal work that's necessary to save your marriage and keep your family together, and if you're ready to lead your family the right way, if you're ready to control your emotions and the way that you respond to them, and if you're ready to start winning at home just like you do at work, in your business, and in every other area of your life, then go to my Instagram right now and DM me the word unbreakable, or just find the link in the description below. If you qualify for one of the 5 spots and you're one of the lucky ones that I choose, we'll get to work immediately. Don't let the man that your family needs die inside of you. Remember, unbreakable fathers create unbreakable families. Peace.